Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Warcraft Rumble global launch was around 3 weeks ago, and now we have a pretty good grasp of what's going on with the game. And in this video, I want to talk about some improvements to Rumble. In particular, there's 5 things that I think Blizzard needs to fix in order to ensure Rumble's long-term success. So let's take a look at those. First of all, there's campaign difficulty. The random seed that you get for your campaign missions, you cannot change that, and it greatly affects the campaign difficulty in some encounters. In particular, in encounters where you meet a big push from the AI right at the start, and then whatever the AI happens to have in their starting hand can either make that push even harder, or it can make it slightly easier. And this is a problem. This, of course, is something that I feel personally a lot because I make a lot of guide videos, and no matter if I get the hard start or the easy start, there's always going to be a bunch of comments about how my game is easy mode and their game is hard mode. But it goes beyond that, because standardizing the campaign difficulty would be important for the new player experience overall. If a new player is going through campaign missions and okay, things are going pretty well, and then they run into a campaign mission where they get a really hard seed and a really early push, think Rain Wolfrunner with Footmen for example, think Devilsaur Queen with the Grunts and Ogre Mage, some of the most difficult seeds for those encounters. If you happen to get that one and you can't get out of it, then that feels quite bad. And then you could have a slightly easier start, and then the mission would feel easier for you. So there is more deviation in the campaign mission difficulty than intended because of the way that randomization works. And I think the ideal solution probably for this one would be to give the AI a static opening hand. Because if you determine the AI's deck in advance, and the AI will always open with a specific opening hand, then the difficulty of each campaign mission can be fine-tuned by the developers more closely than when it's random, and then some of those random starts are more difficult than others. Obviously that's not the only solution, but the main problem that new players will experience great deviations in difficulty in specific campaign missions still remains, and that should be standardized so that the designers can design what the difficulty level really is going to be. The second thing that should be changed is to make sure that everyone gets a leader from each family. Because you really need a leader from each family. Without a leader from each family, you cannot gain coins and you cannot gain sigils from Heroic Campaign. And there's this weekly rotation where you only get leaders from specific families in 5-week intervals. You can only upgrade them in dungeons every 5 weeks. So that rotation might already be an issue. But an even bigger issue is that if you don't have a leader at all. And I originally didn't think this was going to be a problem because I didn't think people would climb so quickly. But then I heard some Hearthstone pros trying out the game and completing the entire regular campaign in 2 days and then being stuck with no leaders from some families. You do get 8 leader choices by the time you get to Sigil 75, which is the most you can get without having a leader from each family because further sigils are earned from heroics. But those 8 choices are not enough to ensure a leader from each family. So something needs to be done about this. Maybe you should gain some family-based choices along the way. Maybe you should even gain those family-based choices already by 50 sigils, so that when you unlock heroics, you're guaranteed to have a leader from each family, so that you can keep progressing smoothly through the game. And the third thing that needs to be changed is to remove the chance that you hard lock your account into poor talents. The talent system as it is right now, there's a major problem with it. When you get a mini to uncommon, you unlock 1 talent slot. You're offered to buy those talents from the grid randomly, so you don't know which one you're going to get offered first. Maybe you don't do much research, so you buy the first one you get, and maybe that's really bad. And you can't change that talent until you get your mini to rare. And that might take you weeks, that might take you months. So that is a huge problem. Having players locked into poor decisions when they might have been uninformed is never a good experience. So something needs to be done about that. One example of how it could be solved would be the allow talent removal, with a partial refund maybe. Let's say I want to destroy my talent on my Grom, and I would get 150 coins back, and then the original talent costs 250, so I would still end up paying something for that. So I just don't shuffle talents around all the time like that, but still it would be far less of a problem than having to go all the way to rare to get myself another talent. So something needs to be done about this to prevent players from unintentionally locking their account into a poor situation just because they haven't done extra research outside the game. Fourth thing is your army loadouts. You should be able to make multiple armies per leader, so it would be easier to do campaign and dungeons and PvP. This would also encourage players to do dungeons, to do PvP, to try various campaign missions, because they wouldn't have to change their army every time mini by mini to go try some other type of content. It's really awkward. I mean, I want to PvP a little. Hey, I'm put in PvP team. Now I want to go back, try that heroic that was a little bit hard. Oh, I need to make that team again. We would need at least 2 or 3 army loadouts per leader, so that you click a leader maybe, and maybe you're presented with 3 slots, and then you click one of those slots and you get army for that slot, something like that. So that you would be able to conveniently alternate between different types of content, especially PvE and PvP, but also heroics and dungeons. And that would just make life so much easier for players. Obviously, players will never be happy with the number of loadouts that they get, but they need at least a couple, so that all game modes can be played equally. And then the fifth and the biggest change that's needed is to make PvP competitive. Yeah, the other 4 are probably something that you could patch into the game pretty quickly, but this one takes a little bit more thought. Because currently, the advantage that you can buy in PvP with money, it's huge. It's totally enormous. And this is a barrier to entry. This disincentivizes people from playing PvP. And well, I played Hearthstone Mercenaries a lot, and Hearthstone Mercenaries had the exact same issue, and PvP died. Because people wouldn't go to PvP because it required them to do so many things. And a vibrant PvP scene is good, it's useful for any kind of live service game. And this game aims to be a live service game, so you want it to just continue living, and PvP scene is good for that. But then you need to start thinking, okay, well, what about the monetization model? The current monetization model is to sell progress. Okay, but if you sell progress, how do you match that with an even playing field in PvP? You might not be able to. Well, then you can choose, okay, maybe we go for another monetization model, maybe we go for a cosmetic monetization model. If you want to keep the monetization model as progress-based, then on the other hand, you would have to start thinking, okay, well, how much of an advantage can we give so that people keep paying, but on the other hand, people also keep playing, so that the free-to-play players will be there to play PvP with. So the current model could work, but the scaling would need to be tuned even harder, so that the advantage would be smaller. Another thing that could be done would be different ladder formats. So right now, when you're in low ranks in MMR, the mini scaling is level capped. Maybe there was something like a pauper format, like you just play with very low level minis and you can't gain that sort of advantage. So PvP scene, making sure that people actually want to PvP and will be able to PvP without facing constant frustration about pay-to-win aspects of the game, would be very important for the long-term health of this game, and that requires a lot of thought from Blizzard still. So those are the 5 things I think should be changed in Rumble to ensure that the game remains healthy in the long term. Standardize the campaign mission difficulty. Make sure everyone gets a leader from each family so that they can do heroics. Remove the chance that you hardlock your account into poor talents. Add multiple army slots per leader so that you can conveniently change between types of play. And make PvP more competitive. Note that none of these things touch the core gameplay of Rumble, because I think the core gameplay of Rumble is awesome. It's brilliant. It's really in-depth, there's a lot of strategy, it has a lot of skill involved, and yet it's so easy to pick up that people don't always even recognize how much skill there is involved in this game. But I think all of that will get to shine even better if Blizzard will just support some of the surrounding systems, and then we can enjoy Rumble for many years to come. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.